Hello and welcome to The Good People. This is a historical fantasy visual novel inspired by Irish mythology and Celtic folklore, which is why I'm going to apologize in advance for probably butchering a lot of these names and phrases. There is an in-game lexicon, but even English is my second language, so we'll see. Now there are going to be 6 romance options, 2 males, 2 females, and 2 non-binaries. But if you don't want to romance anyone, you can also choose the platonic options, which is pretty cool. I don't know how much we'll get into this anyway, because we're just gonna play the demo, which as I understand is more of the common route. Now when you first start this game up, it will also prompt you to choose a name and pronouns for your main character, which you can also change here in the settings. I just kept it as the default name and pronouns as they them for now, because apparently in the beginning the characters will refer to you as such anyway. So yeah, let's just have a look. Start a new game. The following chronicle seeks to recount the events preceding the Aranac's interference with the affairs of the legendary Tuatha De Danann, more contemporarily known as Daoine, mate. Do we have the pronunciations here? Not yet. It was supposed to be a feature. I'm not sure if it's going to be implemented in the full game or if the Kickstarter goal was not reached. But Aranac, an Irish person. The term is gender neutral. Okay. Tuatha De Danann, tribe of the goddess Danu. Mortals made demigods through the blessings of Danu. Okay. And the good people. It is another name for the Tuatha and Aesheath, but used solely by humans, for they know not the difference. We begin in 1845, during the initial onset of an Antrahal, the bad life, or Angortamor, the Great Famine, an era of Irish history besieged by unparalleled tragedy. For most, the severity of what was to come could not yet be known, but to the labourers, any poor harvest meant a long and hungry winter. Proper preparation was in order, and so it was thus that the Aranac set out to the port city of Galway one fateful mid-September morning, readying to pawn off an assortment of family heirlooms and other disposable valuables. It was the only way to ensure survival. This journey, however, would indeed be far longer and far stranger than anyone would have ever otherwise anticipated. Preface, Chapter 1. Anteranac I Tirnanock, the Irishmen in Tirnanock. Oh, background's move. There's a dull ache in my belly, a hollow pang that's been nagging at me to eat the wee morsel Mum gave me this morning. Bata Daoine, 1 small potato. I ignore it, again, but not without effort. My last proper meal had to have been last night's supper, but I know I can get by on a rumbling stomach a little while longer still. There'll be time to eat when my errand's over and done with, and that should be soon. I hope. It's been a long and tiresome day's ride, but I'm determined to reach Galway before the sun rises. There's no sense in wasting what little money we have on lodgings if I can go about my business right as the shops open and be on my way by midday. But traveling the road at night is a dangerous business. More past ye, my child. Okay. Let alone with all those treasures in your saddlebag. You ought to pace yourself. Lots of desperate folk out there, especially now. Aye, but I'm just as likely to be robbed in the common lodgings as I am on the road, I told Maithe, firm and final. Though, if I'm honest, I'm not too sure how well these old things will sell. None of it is terribly fancy by city standards. Mama, Granny, oh. Mama's doilies, our Sunday clothes, a bit of jewellery Mum's worn ever since her wedding day. It's not exactly the kind of thing to buy when times are tough, and from what I've heard, the disease on our crops hasn't just affected us. It's all over, this is. I shake my head. There's bound to be some wealthy folk willing to take these trinkets off our hands, even if not for much. If nothing else, it should get that bastard of a landlord off our backs. For a time. The roads have been quiet. It's almost unsettling for this time of year. Of course, it's no surprise that I haven't seen other travelers these past couple of hours, but even earlier today, only a few folks crossed my path. Families, mostly, all bundled up and carrying what scarce few belongings their bags could manage, all slowly headed in the same direction as I. Now, it's just me. Me and the dark thicket to my right and the river to my left. I gulp and eye the woods from time to time. A wall of tree lines the roadside, swallowing up any light to be found on the moonless night. It makes me nervous, so I keep to the left as much as I can and spur my horse to quicken her pace. Whoa there, steady now. Darby, my family's workhorse, slows to a restless halt in the middle of the road. I sigh, continuing to prod her, but she refuses to move 1 inch further. I ought to sell you off, you stubborn old... I'm getting closer to the city. Just over yonder I can see the shine of industry on the horizon, and it'll take me a few more hours to get there still. All right. I suppose we can rest for a while. For a short while. A very short while, you hear? Nay. Really? Affirmative and horse. Thank you for that. I dismount and lead Darby off the road and down to the riverside for a drink. As she wades into the water, I linger back on the shore and stretch my aching limbs, not willing to get my feet wet to keep a hold of the reins. My shoulders tense as I spin around to look down both ends of the road, searching for the source of the whistle I just heard. Hello? Is someone there? No one answers me, nor do I see anyone in the darkness. I clench my jaw, peering back over my shoulder at Darby. She seems entirely undisturbed, yet too far for me to grab in a hurry. Well, not that she would go anywhere in a hurry either. I sigh and rub the bridge of my nose. Her ears are better than mine, I suppose. Perhaps it was nothing. I lift my hand from my face and glare right across from me into the trees. I didn't see anything move, but I heard something. I'm certain of it. Investigate. Okay, right, I saw this in the preferences that there are some time choices. You can turn it off, which I appreciate. I kept it on for now, but I don't know, things like this get my heart racing a bit. Which might seem silly, but it's also a bit more realistic. But now I'm scared. Okay. I quickly searched the ground for something to defend myself with. Smart. But only managed to eye a flimsy-looking branch in the grass. Well. With a grimace, I grab it and make my way across the road. It's no weapon, but maybe enough to scare off a wild animal. As for a person... Well, I'll be less lucky if it's a person, but old Darby's a willful beast and not terribly bright. I've got no choice but to confront the thing, whichever or whomever it is. Well, we did have a choice, but... well, I fumbled. The thicket is as dense as it is dark, and even more intimidating up close. Carefully, I hold the branch out in front of me and prod at the underbrush, pulling the foliage back to stare into the trees for any sign of... I jump back and nearly trip as a little bird flies out from the forest and rushes past my face, close enough to feel the brush of its wings. My shoulders slump and I breathe out a sigh of relief. Only an animal after all, I think, chuckling to myself as I turn around. Yep. My jaw hangs slack as I gawk at the hooded person on the other side of the road, who somehow crept round behind me and now stands ready to hoist themselves right onto the back of my dim-witted mare. Excuse me? Hey! Get away from there! The stranger refuses to regard me even as I bolt back towards them. Unfortunately, I'm too slow. By the time I reach the thieving bastard, they've already swung into Darby's saddle. We go torpy, run fast. The stranger swats Darby's rear and spooks the mare into a frenzied gallop out of the water and into, of all things, the forest. I'm baffled. I don't know if the thief intended to go off-road or if poor panicked Darby forced the thief's hand, but I don't have time to question it. Stealing my resolve, I run into the forest and chase after the thief on foot. My chances of catching up are slim, but I have to try. I have to. The journey back is far too long to be sensible without a ride, let alone without money, without food. Even if I pressed on and made it home regardless, what would I say to my family when I arrive? I've lost our money, our valuables, and even our horse. We'd be... Jaw clenched, I run as fast as my legs will permit me, bolting through the trees, barely able to see more than 10 feet forward, as I follow the path of prints and snapped branches that Darby left behind. Luckily for me, the thief seems to be riding straight through the forest, which will make it less easy for me to lose the trail or get turned around in my eventual backtrack. It is odd, though. Why wouldn't the thief circle back to the road, where there's fewer obstructions and more light? Where are they going if not to Galway, where all those things would sell? After a while, I lose track of how long I've been running. All I know is I need to keep moving, no matter how tired I am, or how my gut turns and growls. Fortunately, just as soon as I begin to fear that I'll never see the end of these woods, the trees begin to thin out. Until it clears altogether. Okay. I pause for a moment to catch my breath, both The strangeness of this glade does not escape me. At first glance, I think that I must have gotten turned around and returned to the riverside, but the longer I look, I see that this body of water is not a river at all. It's a small lake, surrounded on all sides by tall, jagged stones. I move closer on impulse and feel heat from the water rising up on pillars of steam. The water also bubbles like a simmering stew, and if my eyes aren't deceiving me, it looks almost red. Karian Diavel? What the devil? What's all this? But, of course, I'm talking to the air. No one else is here. Or is there? No one else is here. Shite. My heart pounds as I spin around and search the ground for Darby's tracks. I can't afford to get distracted like this. The longer I linger here, the further the thief gets. Thankfully, though, I manage to locate the trail again and swiftly follow it right back to the lake's edge. I stare down, beyond perplexed, as Darby's hoofs disappear into the water. For a moment, I consider the possibility that the thief purposefully waded into the lake to throw me off their tracks, but the longer I look into the water, I realize it's too deep. There is no gradual decline. It's a steep drop, black, murky, and without end. If the thief did steer Darby into the water, they would have... Deep breath. Okay, then I guess we took a dive. Lochbel Dragain is one of the many yet few waypoints between Tirnanock and Inisfell. Lochbel Dragon, okay. Lake of the Dragon's Mouth, a waypoint between worlds. Yeah, I think we figured that out. Tirnanock, of course I've heard before, the land of youth and home of the Tuatha-De Danann. Inishfal, Isle of Destiny, an ancient name for Ireland. Okay. Hidden away and forgotten by most. It stands unique for its relative ease of access and longevity, yet similar to the other waypoints of its kind, the threshold remains closed as to prevent accidental wayward travelers. Okay, that's nice. Unless, of course, it has been deliberately opened. Oh, interesting. I was wondering about this because I didn't see the typical interface for saving. Okay, so I guess it saves after each chapter. Yeah, sure. Let's continue to the next one. Chapter 2. Een Ridderglas. The Green Knight. Okay, whole lot of nothing. Okay. After flailing in the water for God knows how long, I finally find the surface again and drag myself onto the lake shore. It takes several ragged breaths before my vision clears. Did that cheeky bastard try to drown me? I look around to see if I can work out which direction they went, but nothing looks familiar. No, it's more than that. This isn't the same place I was when I fell in. The familiar oak and ash trees have been replaced with mossy gnarled willows and yews, surrounded on all sides by impossibly bright flowers and deep, deep roots. The forest is so overgrown that the trees almost block out all the morning light, leaving me with just the blossoming warmth of spring air. Or so I think, if it wasn't supposed to be September. What is this? Glancing back at the lake, the water is still and clear, without a trace of my unexpected swim. Christ almighty, am I dead? I pinch my arm and wince. I can still feel, but what if that's just my mind playing tricks on me? Maybe I hit my head in the lake and... I feel a wave of panic wash over me as I think of my family, waiting anxiously for me at home. They never wanted me to come here, told me it was too dangerous. What have I gotten myself into? Robbed and drowned by the roadside. Mom, I'm so sorry. The sound of an approaching horse snaps me out of my thoughts. My heart skips a beat for half a moment, daring to think it might be Darby, but then...
Who's out there? In the name of the Queen, I order you to show yourself.
I scowl a bit. What's a damn Sassenach? Englishman, often disparagingly. What's a damn Sassenach doing out this way? Just for a second, can I... Ooh. What's this? Let me just turn... Oh. Just a little bit. Okay, sorry about that. Just want to make sure sound is somewhat balanced. Corriger von Isha. This must be hell. They actually throw in a lot more phrases at us than I thought they would, but okay. Oh, some animation. Moving as silently as possible, I shield myself behind a tree as I watch for the source of the noise. There's a dirt road just beyond the tree line where a figure is leading a horse straight this way. Darting between the trees, I advance closer, trying to see who called out to me. As I reach the tree line, I pause. The person has come closer into view, and I can begin to make out some details. A pink sash peeks out from the foliage, which appears to be draped across some kind of cloth armor. I squint. Is that a spear? What's the military doing roaming around with spears? They're quite short for a soldier too. This is just getting odd. I slump against the tree. My wet clothes feel heavy and my back is beginning to ache with tension. Well, I can tell that that person isn't a thief and possibly isn't British military either. Maybe they could help me sort some things. They probably at least know where we are. Yeah, ask for help. Why not? We could hide. Maybe that would be the more careful option that could be inclined to do, but we have no starting point here, so yeah. Sitting here feeling sorry for myself won't help. They may even be able to point me home, or to the pearly gates, I suppose. Though, truth be told, I'm beginning to doubt that possibility. I can't quite put my finger on it, but I don't feel dead. Brushing my hair out of my face and straightening my clothes as best I'm able, I march out from the trees and over to them. When they see me, they come to a halt. Hopefully that's a good sign. However, as I begin to get a better look at their face, I'm momentarily taken aback. The person before me is unlike anyone I've ever seen. For one, their ears slope to unnatural points and are nestled under greenish-brown hair. For a second, my eyes linger on their slightly protruding nose. I stand up straighter, but quickly look away, careful not to reveal too much surprise on my face. No wonder things have been so strange. I'm not dead, but they're not human. You'd easily mistake it from far away, but face to face, there's no question. It's one of the sheet people of the mounds, more commonly known as the fairies. They remind me of the stories Mom would tell. Despite my best attempt to present myself respectfully, though, they look furious with me. I just arrived, I haven't done anything. You! Without giving me time to respond, they seize me by the arm and drag me over to their horse. Wait! Please wait, I didn't mean any offense. They don't even hear me over their own voice, which hasn't stopped shouting questions all too fast for me to answer. Where have you been? Do you have any clue how worried I was? What have you been eating? What are you doing here? Why are you all wet? Why do you look like you're starving? After binding my wrists with some rope they had, they easily lift me onto the horse. Wow, they are stronger than they look. But what's all this about where I've been? I just got here. I look down at them pleadingly and take note of a small swan emblem on their sash. Wait, hold on now, you've got to listen to me. Whoever you think I am, you have the wrong person. Unfortunately, my words fall on deaf ears. To be honest though, the more they shout, the less angry they sound. If anything, they're acting more like a concerned parent. Sighing heavily, I slump into the saddle, now acutely aware that I'm being kidnapped by a fairy. Now, from the context, I've known that they mistake you for someone else, and the way they're talking, like I agree with this, the concerned parent bit, but then why are they like putting rope on our wrists? Curious. At least I get a break from walking now, I guess. I'm home safely. Atashki, my treasure. I'm home safely, Atashki. Stick to the road and don't go astray. There's more than robbers out there to be mindful of. Mom, I'm not a child. You don't have to go in about those tales. Of course, dear. Just remember, don't give anyone your name. Mind your manners. And don't eat anything you're offered. Right, base rules for fairies. After some time, the fairy and I arrive at an ancient-looking 3-story outpost. The area is still and quiet. We are obviously the only ones here, save the wildlife, I suppose. Foliage blossoms all around us, filling the air with the sweet scent of flowers. The fairy silently helps me off the horse. They stopped yelling a while ago, so we were forced to travel in sullen silence. As they lead their mare to the stables, I awkwardly fiddle at the rope around my wrists, but it's no use. It's too damn tight to wriggle out of. I take in my surroundings and spot a flourishing fruit and vegetable garden off to the side. Huge strawberries rise out of the garden bed and spill over onto the path. My mouth waters at the sight. Entranced by the sweet scent of the strawberries, I almost don't register my captor returning to my side. Peas should be ready soon too. You grew all of this? Of course, who else would? They give me a puzzled look. I just meant, you aren't having any trouble with the land? I look at the garden. The pea pods are plump and near ripe. A hint of wildness is present in the chaotic tangle of stems, leaves, and produce. My thoughts turn back to our struggling farm and the people waiting for me to return. My stomach churns, and the encroaching hunger from the smell of strawberries turns into nausea. I suppose, whatever this place is, the blight hasn't come to it. Trouble? Why would I have trouble? Honestly, what has gotten into you, Daoine? Not you, that's for certain. Strangely, the name means human. Okay. Daoine. No, I falter, remembering my mother's warning. At the time I brushed it off, but now I might need to think twice. Not them. Who else would you be? Wait, answer that when I have some parchment. Without giving me time to respond, they lead me into the outpost. The bottom floor of the outpost is surprisingly cozy. Someone has gone to great lengths to make it feel like a home. The hearth is warm and comforting, plants adorn the walls and windows, and there is still a faint smell of baked bread lingering in the air. Now I'm getting hungry. It's almost lunchtime, so yeah. They guide me over to a small two-person table. I'll be back in a moment. As I wait at the table with not much else to do, I let my eyes wander over the decor. The tatting of the lace on these doilies is done so well. I wonder if they made all of these? I nervously run my fingers over the knitted blanket on my seat. When they don't come back immediately, I use the opportunity to look around. Peeking through the window of the holding cell, I scan what may be in my future. Death by allergies, it seems. There's just a lumpy-looking hay bed, a table, and the thick layer of dust that covers everything. Looking around more, I spot a desk covered with scattered maps, notes, and letters. The maps have writing all over them, and the notes mention something about possible sightings that catches my eye. Ooh, investigate or leave it alone. Now this is tricky, because I'm very curious, I want to know more, but it also seems rude to just peek at stuff. Like, would they have put it away if they didn't want us to look at it? I'll let curiosity win and investigate. We've gone with all this so far just with very much curiosity, so let's just keep with it. I look closer at one of the maps, but at a glance I know it's not going to make any sense to me. Great. Oh, okay. Phineas. I scan over the map's details in disbelief. The continent on the map is divided into 4 distinct provinces: Phalius, Phineas, Murias and Corius. Amidst the various city and region names are small symbols scratched onto the map with ink. Some of them have been circled. Okay, like here. Not Oakley anyway. What? Okay, it's provinces of the various seasons. Tirnanok. Interesting, okay. Phalias, the province of spring. It stands in eternal mourning. Eternal mourning? Like the time of day doesn't change? Phineas, the province of summer. It stands in eternal day. Murias, the province of autumn. It stands in eternal evening. And Gorias, the province of winter. It stands in eternal night. That sounds awful. Strange. There are weird symbols over the names too. Strange intersecting lines must be some kind of language. As I keep looking, I notice a little scribbled on structure in Phalias that looks a bit like this place, labeled Outpost. That must be where we are. So we're in eternal mourning, okay. Spring and morning. The lake near the structure has a faded symbol written in too. I bet that's where I fell in. Phalias. Beneath the name it says it's the province of spring. What does that mean? Is it always spring here? Hastily I look at the other province names. Huh. Right below Phalias, Phineas is listed as the province of summer. On the other side of the map, Murias and Gorias are labeled with autumn and winter. Maybe they're all only one season. Finally, I take a look at the top of the map. There I see the name for the strange land. Tirnanok, the land of youth? I've only heard the name in some stories. Is this really real? I decide to distract myself by moving on to one of the letters that is already unfolded. There's a broken wax seal here, the same one on the outpost banners. To the Honourable Shay Fearglass. Is that it? Shay Fearglass, yeah. The given name means courteous. The surname means green grass. Is it fear or fair? I'm sorry. I mumble the words aloud. Shay Fairglass. That must be the fairy's name. The word honourable also catches my eye. Seems I was right about them being a soldier, just not for any army I know. Suddenly, I hear them come back into the room and drop something onto the table. Caught red-handed. I tried to turn around as casually as possible, as though I wasn't just prying through their personal affairs. Shay keeps looking between me and the desk, and I brace myself for a new round of lecturing. Instead, they begin talking rapidly.
Look, I know you don't believe me, but I really do think I'm onto something.
Great. There is partial voice acting in this, and I think the full game will also only have partial? That's what I heard. I'm close. I can feel it. Look. They run over to the map and begin pointing to areas and talking about things I don't understand. So the princess was being held in Duntulan, Mount Fortress, okay, which is in Murias, right? Right. And which princess is this again? Shay immediately looks at me like I have two heads.
What do you mean, which princess? The one I've been looking for the last 150 years.
That's a long time. The missing heir to King Anrei's throne. Henri? The last king of Tir Nanok. Okay. So, very important then, I see. I feel the blood drain from my face. 150 years? Just how old are they? I mean, very, so... Long living aside though, that's an awfully long time to look for someone. They must have a pretty good reason to hold out hope this long. Anyways, it wasn't always Unseelie territory. Originally it was part of Phineas, but then those traitors captured it in the war, so it got tied into their territory. But here's the thing, the Southern Druid Temple is right next to it, and they chose not to interfere in the war, so what if she's with them? When we escaped, I told her to go somewhere the Unseelie can't go. Maybe she thought that meant somewhere not part of the war? Since they were neutral, they probably don't tell anyone who comes and goes either. When you get done in Timir, I'd like to ask you a few questions about your time training there. Where? Timir? It is a large city in Falias and the capital of the Celtic court. Prior to the War of the Courts, it was the capital of all of Tir Nanok. Okay. Some big history lessons here. I glance back at the map. Timers and Falias. I was right. I really am in Tir Nanok. And if I'm keeping up, it sounds like they have some kind of tussle going on. I don't like the sound of getting caught up in all that. I waver on unsteady legs for a moment. Shay stares at me suspiciously and clears their throat before continuing. Course I wouldn't ask you to tell me any secret, and I know you have to tend to the townspeople too, so it'd only be during one of your usual visits. Assuming the Queen lets you after all this, I mean. I know she doesn't like me poking around about it. Hey. I'm sorry about earlier. I've just been worried sick, you know. But I shouldn't have been so rough with you. Thank you. Does this mean you'll untie this rope? Not a chance. Now come on over to the table. What? That part is still confusing to me. Well, at least we seem to be on better terms now. Maybe I can get them to listen to me. I finally see what they dropped on the table when they came in. They brought me a plate of bread and honey with a glass of milk. Go on, you eat while I interrogate you. What? Okay. I don't quite like the sound of that. What kind of interrogation is this? I stare at the food. My stomach growls. Ugh. My stomach may be all for it, but every other part of me is warning me not to. If I ever intend on getting home, that is. I swallow down the hunger. I'm not hungry, thanks. My gut groans in protest. Traitor. You sure about that? Yep, positive. Shay stares at me, frustration plain on their face, but they don't press the issue and sit opposite me. They take out a scroll and begin scrawling quickly, mumbling to themselves. Finally, they look up at me. So, what were you doing by the lock? The quill pauses as they wait for my answer. Explain or deflect. Honesty is the best policy. Or 99% of the time. This kind of game I usually go with just honesty. It will gain your trust, even if it sounds outrageous at first, and also you're not getting into any trouble by lying, even if it's white lies. And I mean, we already stated before that we're not Diana, so explain. At last, I can explain. I take a deep breath before launching into my story. I was on my way to the Galway market. Galway? What's a Galway? Oh, I suppose they don't know where that is. It's a place on the other side of the loch. You went to Innisfell. Was it? Innisfell. Ireland. I didn't go there though, I'm from there, like I keep trying to tell you. Well, of course you are, you're human. But you know you're not allowed to open the portal without permission. Ah, I see. That explains a little bit. Leona, that's dangerous stuff to mess with. There has to be some way I can convince you. I was just minding my business when a thief stole my stuff, pushed me into the lake, and I woke up where you found me. I'm not Diana. It's just a mistake. Shay hesitates as they decide if they believe me. They go on to pull a small hand mirror out of their desk before handing it to me. It's just me staring back. I half expected a different face to be looking into the mirror. Still looks like you to me. How is this possible? Who is this Diana person? Maybe I should be asking who I am at this rate. You look like Diana, and we have no evidence of the supposed thief who led you here through a closed portal. You realize how absurd the story sounds, right? Likely more than you do. Please, help me find the thief and I'll show you. Shay frowns and instead of answering me, grabs my forearm. Well, finding the thief, if they pushed us in, they're not necessarily here. Huh. This again. You have a bruise from where I grabbed you earlier. I can't see what they're doing, but they begin rubbing the blossoming bruise and humming softly. Can you please give me my arm back? Reddening, they drop my arm and rush off to their desk. I look down, and the bruise is gone. How did they do that? Shay busies themselves with writing out 2 notes. I take a longing glance over at the food and see my piece of bread is missing. Wait a second, where did it go? Am I finally losing it? While I try to figure out where it went, I hear Shay nailing one of the notes on the door of the outpost. This prompts me to turn back to Shay, who then leans out a window to make a strange call. I gasp as a strange tiny creature with dragonfly-like wings flutters in and takes the note. I'll meet you at the palace. They whisper the promise to the creature and give it an affectionate head scratch, then it bounds back out the window. they pause in front of me awkwardly. You know that if you just tell me what you've been trying to do, I'd help you. You're basically family, Diana. But if you don't tell me anything, then I can't. Then help me catch the person who started this mess. We have to go talk to the Queen first. Are you sure you won't eat? Again, thank you, but no. I wonder how long we can keep that up. With a final sigh, they gather their things and lead me out the door. I guess it's time to meet the Queen of the Fairies. Oh lord, what have I gotten myself into? Indeed. Okay, so that was it for this chapter. I think I'm going to stop here for today. The demo does have a good bit of length, so I knew we were going to do it in parts. Yeah. Interesting start for now. Getting into a lot of the lore and history. Interesting. A bit overwhelming at first, but I'm sure we'll get into this as we learn more about the world around us. So yeah, let me know what you think in the comments down below, and until next time, bye bye!